Welcome to this explainer. Settle in, clear your mind for a second, and really prepare to step into a space of absolute digital silence. Today, we're undertaking a pretty unique journey. We're going to explore a completely fascinating mental exercise. Now, this isn't some dense academic paper or a sprawling data set. Instead, it's just a single piercing question that carries the absolute weight of our entire modern infrastructure. So I want you to take a deep breath and just let go of that constant stream of notifications and information you're so used to. We're going to slow down, pull back the curtain on our daily routines, and examine a theoretical reality that is honestly, simultaneously terrifying and totally captivating.
What if Google disappeared for 24 hours? Just let those words sit there for a moment. 7 words. That is our entire source text today. But the sheer gravity of this question is literally immense. You can probably feel that slight pulse of anxiety the question triggers right in the back of your mind. It's an inquiry that strikes at the very core of exactly how we navigate our reality.
What's truly fascinating is how this frames our entire task. This entire explainer is a thought experiment built solely on the foundation of those 7 words you just read. And we're going to mentally deconstruct them together. We aren't just reading a sentence here, we are unpacking a hypothetical universe. Every single word in that source text is like a loaded spring ready to release a massive cascade of consequences all across the globe. By taking the time to actually visualize this, we uncover not just a technical scenario, but a mirror reflecting our own profound dependencies.
Okay, let's dive into this. To truly understand the enormity of this concept, we have to break down the mechanics of the premise into 3 distinct parts: the subject, the action, and the duration. We can't digest the scale of this question all at once, so we have to look at the who, the what, and the how long. Step 1 is examining the subject itself. Step 2 is confronting the specific nature of the action. And Step 3 is grappling with the strict temporal boundary placed upon the event.
Let's really meditate on Step 1, the subject, Google. In the context of our source's question, this isn't just a search engine or a simple website, right? It is the absolute backbone of global APIs. It's the cloud hosting for literally millions of other businesses. It's the DNS routing for vast, vast swaths of the internet. When our source text names Google, it's naming an infrastructure so deeply embedded in our lives that its sudden absence means Android-based hospital pagers bricking, global supply chains totally halting, and gig economies crashing instantly. It's basically the compass we didn't even realize we were holding until we were asked to imagine dropping it.
And then we confront Step 2, the action. Disappeared. Now notice the text doesn't say went offline, it doesn't say experienced a server error, and it definitely doesn't say underwent scheduled maintenance. It says disappeared. A scheduled outage means backup systems kick in. A disappearance? That means BGP routes just vanish. Servers stop pinging back. The internet literally forgets where to send data. The technical terror here is palpable. It's the psychological shock of reaching out to touch a wall you've leaned on your entire life, only to find thin air.
Finally, we have Step 3, the duration. 24 hours. The source material provides us with this very strict, finite time constraint. And think about why 24 hours is such a critical threshold here. It's long enough to cause billions of dollars in economic damage and completely ground global logistics, but short enough that humanity really won't have the time to rebuild alternative infrastructures. It forces this incredibly unique purgatory. Knowing the boundary completely changes the impact, turning the prompt from some apocalyptic nightmare into a highly focused psychological thought experiment.
All right, we've set the boundaries. Now, let's step across the threshold into minute 1 of the void.
Here is our conceptual map, built entirely on the premise of the prompt. We're going to walk right through the speculative timeline together. At 1 hour, we have the realization. By 6 hours, the true scope of the disconnection sets in. At 12 hours, society hits the deep void, the absolute nadir of the absence. And finally, at 24 hours, we reach the final seconds. This isn't just a timeline of a technological failure, you guys. It's a timeline of human psychology processing a sudden, massive deficit. Just imagine that first hour. Is it my connection or is it gone? Think about your own immediate reaction. You open a browser, you type a query, and nothing happens. The first hour of this disappearance, as dictated by the scenario, is naturally processed purely as a personal glitch. You restart your router. You switch from Wi-Fi to cellular. You look at the person next to you and ask, "Hey, is yours working?" It's this localized, frustrating confusion before the terrifying global reality of the prompt truly dawns on the collective consciousness. And then we hit hour 12, the halfway point. That initial wave of panic slowly gives way to a heavy global stillness. And this brilliantly illustrates the true texture of the void during this 12th hour.
Because the void isn't just an empty screen, is it? It's a massive cascade of missing interactions. It's delivery fleets paralyzed on the highway because GPS routing has completely failed. It's financial markets freezing up because the news aggregation APIs they rely on are absolutely dead. It's smart homes locking up, and critical emails vanished entirely into the ether. The absence is defined completely by all the micro-actions and macro systems that are suddenly violently severed.
86,400 seconds. Just let the reality of this cascading effect sink into your mind. What starts as a minor inconvenience at hour 1 compounds into a full-blown systemic crisis by hour 20. When our source asks what happens if it disappears for 24 hours, it's forcing us to account for the compounding emotional and functional toll as time drags on. A localized frustration becomes a regional logistics jam, which cascades into an international economic standstill. It is a relentless, growing silence.
So, the crucial point is the sheer whiplash of this paradigm shift. Before the scenario proposed by our source text, our baseline reality is one of instant answers and assumed connectivity, right? It's a world operating almost completely without friction. But during those 24 hours, reality absolutely inverts. That frictionless existence crashes headfirst into the violent friction of total disconnection. The thought experiment forces us to really acknowledge how fragile the before reality actually is, and how entirely unprepared we are for the during.
And then, the timeline draws to a close. The narrative tension reaches its absolute peak. We're in the final seconds of the 24-hour constraint provided by our source. The world is adapted, panicked, and paused. And now the boundary of the thought experiment is about to be breached. The duration is up.
We return to the anchor text, the exact words that sparked this entire mental journey. What if Google disappeared for 24 hours? By taking this question seriously, by walking through the systemic dependencies, the technical terror, and the deep compounding crisis, we've elevated it from a passing shower thought into a profound examination of our own digital dependency. We have survived the hypothetical 24 hours, but the thought experiment doesn't truly end when the clock stops.
Because the most revealing part of exploring a 24-hour disappearance is actually confronting the moment of return. When the void closes, how do we react? Do we just rush back, completely unchanged, desperate to reconnect? Or does that single day of digital silence fundamentally alter our relationship with the screen? What happens at hour 25? I'll leave you to think about that.